Yeah.
My favorite. It's Judd's Hockey Show.
And a happy Monday morning to you. It is Judd's Hockey Show, and boy, do we have a game to talk about that was played on Saturday night, an absolute classic. The U.S. and Canada. It's Judd. It's AJ. But before we start, I want to give you some advice from the Sports Dad, and that is if you are going to a Wild game, and I'm sure a lot of you are going to be enthusiastic to watch hockey now when it comes back here, I'm going to give you the perfect spot to stop before the game to get a great pregame meal. That's just down West 7th from the X at Parlor Bar. Parlor Bar, absolutely outstanding. You know, you've heard about the famous Parlor Burger for quite some time now. Chicken sandwich, I've been hyping that up. I've been the hype man for quite some time. Special game day menu available 3 hours before Wild games face off. An ideal spot to go pregame or get a family get-together. We're talking about brunch on weekends. We are talking about a perfect place to stop. And something else that's key in 2025, the service, absolutely outstanding. I've been there a couple of times with Dawn before games, and it is a great place to go. Again, right down West 7th, within walking distance of the X. Check out the Parlor Bar, and you will be glad that you did. All right, Age, let's get to it, man. Just an epic tilt between the U.S. and Canada on Saturday night. 3 fights within the first 9 seconds. Mm-hmm. And that was the pop. But the actual game itself was fantastic. It was a 2-1 game, essentially. And that's as much fun as I've had watching hockey in a long time. And it's not necessarily replicatable all of the time, but boy, was that just an unbelievable game to watch.
Yeah, I mean, I know you've seen a handful of games more than I have in your lifetime than I have in mine, but I think it's easy for me to say that is a top 3, if not one of. That's probably the best hockey game I've seen in my lifetime. Like the stakes, the drought leading between the teams, the intensity level. Like it wasn't a blowout, because that can ruin, like, you know, you're very excited for like a Super Bowl, and all of a sudden it's like, well, one team's up 30-0. I'm not. Right. This wasn't the game I expected. This was everything I think fans expected and then some. And you're right. Brandon Hagel, Matthew Tkachuk, 2 seconds in. Sam Bennett, Brady Tkachuk, 3 seconds in. JT Miller, Colton Parayko, 9 seconds in. That set the tempo, and I think it's it's interesting to go that route, because if you go in with that game plan, it's a neutral site, because it's, you know, it's international play, whatever, but it's in Canada. It's in Montreal. It's essentially a home game for Team Canada. Mm-hmm. They are going to get that crowd raucous. They're going to get them rowdy. And the thing is, not everybody reacts the same. Like, is the Tkachuk brothers, they might think like, yes, let them get worked up, that we're going to feed off that. Whereas, you know, a JT Miller, a Matt Boldy, I'm just using these guys for example, but they might say like, I'd rather them be dead silent. That's where I thrive the best. I want to shut them up. I want to embarrass them while they're already silent. So Team USA clearly had a game plan, but I think through 60 minutes of game, the thing that stuck out to me was how smothering they were of Team Canada. McDavid had a very good goal early. After that, they really, as soon as like a Crosby, a McDavid, a McKinnon got the puck, they closed the gaps, and they didn't give those guys too much space. Like, they weren't able to razzle dazzle like I think a lot of fans expect them to. McDavid, they were not pulling punches. They were gliding in full speed. Charlie McAvoy was laying the body on Sidney Crosby and Connor McDavid. There's no love lost between these two teams. The USA played a fantastic 60 minutes of hockey, and they earned in a very important 3 points to lock up a spot in the championship next Thursday? This coming Thursday?
Yes. So they're going to play this afternoon, or I'm sorry, they're going to play tonight in Boston. Mm-hmm. They're going to face Finland or Sweden tonight. In yes. Boston. Finland's going to play Canada. If Canada wins, they are in the championship themselves. So it's a must-win today for Canada. Finland is a difficult team. Like we sold them way short. Yes. And this is the thing. This is how they always are for the most part in international competition at every level. So I don't think it's a slam dunk for the Canadians that they are going to win. And by the way, if you want to see a pro Finnish crowd in Boston this afternoon, you are going to get a pro Finnish crowd. So let's talk about, well, first of all, I think McAvoy, in my opinion, star of the game. The hit on McDavid had more influence in that game than the 3 fights. The hit on McDavid, I think it was 26 seconds after that, Gensel scores to make it 1-1. The McDavid goal obviously was, a signature McDavid goal, but that McAvoy hit, I thought, changed the entire tone because, like, Canada was hyped up. The fights, in fact, the JT Miller-Parenko fight was a mismatch. I mean, Parenko's a huge dude, and JT, God bless him, basically got his ass kicked. But the fact is, when McAvoy stepped up and hit McDavid like that, I felt the entire tone of the game and in the building changed a bit, especially on the Team Canada bench. Now, I want to talk about why this is so special, because there seems to be there's a lot of there were a lot of preconceived notions about this, and a lot of them were weird. Now, first of all, the whole reason why I said, and I've dropped this because the tournament's great, but the whole reason why I said I'm concerned about the timing is I knew it was going to be somewhat of a bloodbath. Not this, but I knew it was going to be a bloodbath. And like people are like, well, we thought it was going to replace the All-Star game. It's like, what are you talking about? This is not going to replace the All-Star game. But what makes this so special, what makes this a perfect storm to me is a few really important factors. One is the political climate between the U.S. and Canada. So like that gets the fans in Canada. Like they're the most polite group of people. They're not going to boo the anthem unless they are really mad, which they are really mad. So I think that has set a tone in the building, and I'm guessing that it will be reciprocated today in Boston towards Team Canada, and then Thursday night, if Team Canada, which I hope they do, plays the U.S. in the championship, it's going to be a wild off-the-hook thing. So the political climate's important, but the most important thing too, and this is where the NHL needs to be careful here about becoming haughty. This is a big deal because these two teams in Canada, the U.S., and a lot of these players in the entire tournament haven't been able to do this. 2014, the Sochi Games were the last Olympic Games, and by the way, I believe if you fight in those games, you are thrown out. So don't expect a replication next year in the Winter Games when the National Hockey League players go. But the other thing that's important about this entire storyline is this: it's the amount of time. It's the amount of time. Like, this is special because the McDavids and, you take your pick, and the Tkachuk boys who have heard the stories, and I'm sure has gone back and watched on YouTube, their old man, Keith, fighting early in the game. Does it sound familiar? What makes this so special is the rarity. Like what made the first, and I'm not trying to compare these as far as the quality of hockey, but the magic of the Winter Classic was it was the first one, and then it's like, it's just going to be once a year, and then they're like, no, let's do more of those. And so I'm not denigrating this at all. It is unbelievable, but let's keep in mind why. It is all about the fact that you have a group of young men who are phenomenal talents, the best hockey players, well, among them, because the Russians aren't here, but among them, the best hockey players in the world who finally get their chance at best on best. This is the payoff. This is why I was concerned about, and we're seeing it. I mean, Matthew Tkachuk couldn't play the last 12 plus on Saturday, but this is the payoff. So, like, if you just think that the next World Cup of hockey, which I think I think we're gonna get the Olympics. We're gonna get an off year. Please, for the love of God, do not play an All-Star game. And then in 28, we're gonna get a World Cup because they're gonna, I think, hope to get the Russians and the Germans back involved. But like, if you expect that every tournament now is gonna be like this, I think the Olympics, in their own way, because they're the Olympics, will be great. But appreciate, this is a snapshot in time of guys that were absolutely foaming at the mouth to get to a tournament like this. And this is the first time. It is special. And what we have seen and what we saw on Saturday, just from the fans, because it's been a long time, and then again from a group of players who never got this, that's the specialness of this. That's the catch. That is the absolute, my God, what happens in these games These guys have wanted this for a long time.
And my biggest ask of the NHL is to not let this momentum fade away as soon as this tournament comes to an end later this week. Because right now in sports, like in a relative close environment, you have the NFL Pro Bowl, which is kind of deteriorated into guys playing dodgeball. There's not, it's whatever. It's still by far leaps and bounds bigger than the NHL, the NFL is. But their all-star game setting is just terrible. You have the NBA All-Star Game and their skills competitions, which I just got sent this last night by a buddy of mine from the NBA subreddit. 42 minutes of actual basketball was played in the 3-hour All-Star Game. 80 minutes of advertisements, 42 minutes of legitimate basketball.
Wow.
Right now, hockey fans are living their best lives, but the problem is the NHL needs to take this, because I've seen people that typically don't ever watch hockey, people that are brand new to the sport now finding it out, because this is a different intensity level, and I'm scared that they're going to go back to normal NHL.
Oh, they will.
And it's going to be like, hey, let's put the Blackhawks and Sharks in primetime on TNT. And it's like, This is going to be a buzzkill for those new fans. Yep. You need to somehow harness this and lean into what's working. Highlight rivalry matches. Highlight the best players, not the young up-and-coming guys that, maybe have a bad team around them and they're going to be good in like 3 years. Don't push them right now. Still lean into the bread and butter, which is right now the face of USA hockey, whether people like it or not, is the Tkachuk brothers. You have the best line. You could argue one of the best lines in hockey we've seen in a long time in that the power play unit for Canada. That is just so much stardom on one 5-man unit. You need to lean into this. And so if Gary Bettman is allegedly somehow or at some point retiring here from his post in the coming years, he needs to take this and leave a legacy of, okay, we're getting all these new eyes on the NHL. And I'm excited to see whatever the viewership numbers were for that USA-Canada game. I know they haven't released those quite yet. I know Canada-Sweden got more than anything that any World Cup of hockey game from, I want to say, 2018 picked up. Like, this is a much bigger tournament despite the lower pool of players. People want to watch this. People are enjoying watching this. You need to take this momentum and help build it, because we've seen the projections for the next couple of years. The salary cap continues to be going up here. They're going to be adding a significant amount of money for teams. If you take some of this momentum, that's only going to continue. And these players that are making, like Connor McDavid, it's hilarious that like one of the best players we've ever seen in this league right now is making, I think it's like 12, 13, 14, something like that. Whereas it gets to the summertime for NBA free agency, it's like, hey, this guy that I've never heard of, he's the 7th man off the bench. He's making $28 million a year. I'm like, what is this money? Like, it's a very stark contrast. So you have to then build up the league so that the players are also benefiting from what essentially they're doing on this international stage.
So the fast ratings came out yesterday, and so that's not the entire country, but that is, I believe, what they refer to as metered markets, which there's 55 or something like that. Mm-hmm. It averaged 4.4 million viewers and peaked at 5.2 from 9:45 to 10 o'clock Central Time. It's the most watched non-Stanley Cup final since 2019, when a Bruins Blue Jackets playoff game, figure that out, on NBC, averaged 4.5 million viewers. The game is up 300. That game on Saturday was up 369% against the current average for National Hockey League games on ABC. And the only game a year ago that outdrew this was Game 7 of Oilers Panthers, which actually drew 7.6 million viewers here in the States. So that just gives you a snapshot. On trying to prolong it, this is tough, because I agree completely with you. Like, let's get away from, and we've talked about this, quit showing the Blackhawks. But I remember in '98 in the Olympic Games, I think they were in Nagano, and the North Stars had been gone for 5 years. And so it was harder to follow like the league closely. So, but I watched a lot of the Olympic hockey that year. I think it was Hasek was playing. I mean, that was a who's who of star players. Mm-hmm. And I remember watching that and thinking, oh man, I got to get back to watching the sport. But the reality is you're going to go back, well, like You're walking a very difficult line here because you're going to go back to watching normal games. Like, that's the thing about this. I think the question is, and they're going to screw this up, sure as hell. But
Yeah.
I think the question is for these tournaments in particular, how do you keep them special? Because I don't think there's a like you are going to convert people to like the sport, but if they think that they are going to go watch, like, let's take the best, let's say that they've got the best rivalry game. Let's say it's the Panthers and the Lightning. So that's the Hagel fight, the Matthew Tkachuk fight.
Mm-hmm.
And let's say it's a Saturday night game and it's in February. It's gonna be fine, but it's not gonna be this. This is my question is, how do you not dilute this? And they're gonna do it every other year now, which I fear is too much. I fear that's because I think these why
I won't, and I'll tell you why. I know you're not, but you know I am. I'm a soccer guy. Like I enjoy football, and they do this with their competitions where they have the World Cup, which is like, it's basically the Olympics. I've never understood why they don't just do the Olympics instead, but I think it's probably because timing. They have that. That is like the creme de la creme, but then measured out every every 4 years, but so it's every other year. They have either the Euros, which is just all of the European teams, or they have like Copa America, which is, the US, North America, Latin, like the Americas. It seems like 2 years is enough time to where you have a year off, you come back, you're going all out. These guys still care. This is prestigious. This matters to the country. I'm willing to rip my hamstring in half if that. I think,
but yes,
which is a problem. But they're also doing it timing wise, not during the season. So that usually is a good plus. If hockey is going to plan to do right now, and this is a weird time because you're going to have this. It's not every country, so I can understand it. Next year you have Olympics, and then you're immediately going back into World Cup of Hockey. I feel like come World Cup of Hockey, what would that be, 2027? I fear
20,
you almost
28, right? It's every other year, so they'll play an Olympics in 26. They'll take 27 off. They'll go
they are taking that off. Then okay. Then I actually like that.
Okay.
I think a buffer year of nothing and I want to say that if the timing is going to have to be in the middle of the season, the off years, get away with the all-star games. Name an all-star team if you want to.
Yeah.
But I can't go back to an all-star game after this. I don't want to see them going to Columbus, Ohio to live it up in the, where the Blue Jackets play and, do a skills competition and play like a 3-on-3 makeshift tournament. I don't want that. I'm fine with none of that. Dude, just name it. Somehow award the players for being named to the all-star teams, but give them a week off if that's what you want to do.
Sure.
International play should be the highlight. And I think every other year is going to feed that hunger enough to where guys are still, it's going to be tough to match this, but still trying their very hardest whenever they put on their country sweater. So,
okay. Yeah. Just keep it special. Like they just need to keep it special. You can't start to try and do it too much. And I do think the fact that this group, led by the McDavids and the Matthews, hadn't had this opportunity really, especially in a tournament like this, has been, absolutely fantastic. So in 2010, this happened in the Olympics. The U.S. beat Canada in Vancouver. Then they went to they played in the gold medal game, and the U.S. lost on Crosby's golden goal. Mm-hmm. How much confidence, and I am willing Canada to get through to Thursday. Like if Canada does not win and we have to watch a championship that does not involve them, it's going to be massively disappointing. But how much confidence, assuming that the Canadians get through, how much confidence do you have that the Americans can beat them twice in 6 days, 5 days?
It's tough depending on what Team Canada wants to do at goaltending, because from my understanding, it looks like it's not a cemented. Jordan Binnington is back between the pipes for them today against Finland, right? Yeah. That is going to be the biggest question, because I still stand on the fact I don't think Jordan Binnington is that great of a goaltender. The fact that Logan Thompson is sitting in wherever he's at right now and was the guy that got called up, and I think they have other guys probably on their roster that could be a better goalie than Jordan Binnington.
Logan Thompson should have gone. In
Yes.
fact, I saw that he and Bruce Cassidy's on the staff, and there's another coach on the staff, and I guess both of them had a problem with Thompson, like they didn't get along or something. But yes, that
Yeah,
is.
because this is the time
And
to.
Binnington's been incredible at times, but those 2 goals that he gave up on Saturday were both very stoppable.
Yeah, that's how you lose games. I mean, that's just what it is. The Larkin shot, I guess it's a good shot. You got beat.
Well, the change was bad. The two
change was
defensemen
bad.
changing at the same time was ridiculously bad. But he was squared up on both shots. The Gensel goal, the first goal is a really bad goal, I thought. Like you in this form, you've got to stop that. The Larkin goal was a great snipe. It could have been stopped. The change was terrible, but in both cases, like the McDavid goal on Hellebuck was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like I don't know that gets stopped.
No.
that speed and that shot, I don't know that gets stopped.
But the thing is, you and I have, I think, talked about this both games that the U.S. has played now is you've seen maybe some shaky instances, and they had a shaky instance right at the beginning of that game against Finland, but Connor Hellebuck has responded amazingly.
Yeah,
he lets up that goal, and he made some huge saves in the second and third period, especially down that stretch while they were going a turtle defense in the final 12 minutes to close out that game. That was stressful, but he has responded, and that's where a good goalie, an elite goalie, is able to make a difference. And it's crazy. I saw the funny part was I saw somebody tweet out Canadians have been watching Sidney Crosby and now Connor McDavid for the last however many years. And every kid in the country was like, I want to be like that. I don't want to be a goalie. And that's why they're in this position. Now I'm sure Canadians are watching this and they're like, oh my God, there's some dad who's getting his Tim Hortons thinking I'm making little Timmy being a goalie, whether he wants to or not. We cannot have this. He will be the face of this country in goal here in 18 years. Goaltending is very interesting to talk about here, but I think Cale Makar coming back potentially from that illness is also a big factor in what could lead into a Team Canada resurgence and spoiler for the U.S. I mean, if you have him in the lineup, Thomas Harley's not there. Thomas Harley is in Cabo with his teammate Wyatt Johnston. He was
he didn't go.
He was on the tarmac, or he was
aborted the trip. Yeah.
Yes, and he was like, nope, I'm gonna go potentially play. I don't know if I'll even see the team. But this was something I was talking about with people during the game, which is besides Drew Doughty, the veteranness is just not there on the back end for Team Canada. They're going to make mistakes. They're going to, turn the puck over at times and allow the U.S., like we saw, to have a couple odd man rushes that didn't really cost them, but potentially could in a game on Thursday. Cale Makar is, you could argue probably pretty an effective case that he's the best defender in the defenseman, maybe not defender, but defenseman in the NHL right now, given his point production. That's a massive asset for Team Canada. The fact that he has now missed a big game against USA is questionable for the game today is concerning for them. And I don't know if they should be worried, because I think they are going to be fine against Finland. Once again, I'm probably overlooking how good Finland is. My fear, Judd,
pain in the ass.
My fear is that Canada's going to win in regulation, and then this USA-Sweden game is meaningless because Sweden can't do anything. They can't advance. Maybe they're like, we want to finish with more points than Finland and, have that leg up on them. But the U.S. should be, Matthew Tkachuk should not be playing tonight. I'm sure Florida Panthers GMs and team staff are saying, rest him.
You don't play at the end of the game against Canada, which leads me to believe he's hurt, which leads me to believe that, one, he's not going to play tonight. And I think the real question is, will he play on Thursday? He'll try to. Yeah. But the fact that he's not a bail out of a game guy, and he literally took one more shift and said, I can't go. So, and then, of course, Brady Tkachuk said, oh, he'll be fine, which is code for he's probably really hurt. But, and again, if you're the Panthers, you hate life right now. But, yeah, on the Canadian blue line, you're not wrong. So Makar being sick absolutely hurts. Harley played okay, but, the gap between those two is fairly wide, or it's huge. But Shea Theodore is a hell of a player and can drive the puck, move the puck. Went out with a wrist injury against Sweden in the Canadians' first game. And don't forget Alex Pietrangelo. He actually begged out of the tournament to rest something that's wrong, although it wasn't wrong enough for him not to play in the last game, but he's out. So like they were down, and I mean this does make a difference. They were down 3 defensemen who could be very key, and it showed. You know, my guess is that defensive pairing change that we saw that led to the Dylan Larkin goal doesn't happen if those 3 guys are playing and 3 guys are out. Now, I will say this. They need to do a better job the next time of having an actual taxi squad. You shouldn't have to call a dude on the tarmac or who's about to go to Cabo.
Yeah.
Like the league. So this at least, unlike the Olympics, is a National Hockey League rule led, like it's their baby. I'm not quite sure why they drew these, well, you can have a couple guys that can be scratched. They were probably trying to create time off for guys. Mm-hmm. But the fact is, if you're going to do this, go, just do it. If you're not, don't. That's fine. But yeah, this is going to be, I guess my response to my own question is, if they meet on Thursday again, it's going to be really interesting. I don't think Crosby had a great game, and if I'm not mistaken, it's his first loss in international competition, right? 26-1 now.
Yes.
I think McDavid got thrown off his game a bit. They're going to be prepared for it this time. So let's wrap up here, Age, with the state of the Wild players at the tournament. So first of all, the U.S. news is really impressive. Mm-hmm. Matt Boldy, a goal, 2 assists in 2 games, 3 points, +3. Got credit for the game-winning goal on the deflection in the first game. 4 shots on goal. He's averaging 12-19 of ice time. Made a great pass on it. He actually made the pass to Larkin on the snipe goal that gave the U.S. a 2-1 lead. And I believe that was a Crosby pass that got picked off. Anyway, and then Faber, 2 assists. He's a +4. He is averaging 22.06. And what's impressive is in the first game, he was not playing great. He was paired at that time with Noah Hannafin. And then they juggled it and decided to juggle his defensive partner. And it worked out perfectly. And he, from that point on, has looked absolutely fantastic. So I don't know if I had huge expectations, but both Boldy and Faber have been absolutely outstanding.
Yeah, they especially like we see Matt Boldy on a very consistent basis and what he can be, whether it's very engaged Matt Boldy, top of his game Matt Boldy, or away from the play Matt Boldy. He has been engaged, on point. He has been in the play. He's realized, okay, I'm a 3rd-line guy on this team USA, but I need to make every shift count. And I think he's really doing that. He's meshing well with those players. He does not look out of place in my mind. He has been playing a very good style of hockey. I think a game of like a brand of hockey that Bill Guerin probably selected him for, wants him to probably do with Team USA, and has maybe not been the same thing as like what the Kachucks have done.
Yep.
But he's bringing that physicality, which is something that I think he needs in his game at all times. On Brock Faber, I mean, this is something that Big Head Hockey tweeted out after the game on Saturday. But the Slavin-Faber pairing on Saturday night, they were on the ice for every American goal.
Yep.
They were not on the ice for the Canadian goal. 24:55 and 25:36 time, respectively. So Brock Faber, 25:36 time on ice.
Yep.
Most of any American. This is their opinion, but the best shutdown pairing they've seen in international hockey in decades. That's interesting. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. I will say they had a fantastic game, and Brock Faber, similar to what I was hoping for with maybe a Jonas Brodin or a Jules Eriksson Ek, with their performances opening night against Canada for Team Sweden, they're getting a little more national notoriety. And Brock Faber, I think, just given his play with the Golden Gophers and then kind of being a part of the trade, he's had some eyes on him. But now as a young star and finishing second, the runner-up in the Calder Trophy behind Connor Bedard, obviously gets his name in some conversations. But people are taking notice of just how good he is. And I know some people probably want to start a narrative that's like, oh, he looked out of place there. He's looking, the speed of the game was too much for him. I thought he looked fantastic. I thought he played a very good game. He looks, with the best players charging at him, calm, poised on the puck. He is pinching when needed. He is closing off zones. And obviously, yes, he's getting out of position at times. But you're going to in a hockey game. Like, nobody is 100% perfect. Nobody in this game is 100% perfect, which is why we see Team Canada change at a bad time. They have worked really well together for two guys that I'm guessing have, a very casual relationship at best. Brock Faber, Matt Boldy have been showing out for Team USA, and my fingers crossed is almost that we get the USA Canada, and then Team Sweden doesn't have to try whatsoever, and that saves any sort of health for Brodin, for an Ek. And I know Gus is battling an illness, is what they're saying. Hopefully he's able to. Him and Kale McCarr must have just went to the same sushi bar and got a bad case of halibut or something like that.
Yeah, and Brock was, I think the most important thing was that there was the confidence to put him on the ice with Canada with the extra attacker as well. So, that shows you something. Okay, we'll get to the aforementioned Team Sweden guys, but before we do that, a shout out to our friends at Popcorn, the best locally fresh popcorn and fudge on the planet. The limited edition Kirill Kaprizov and Marc-Andre Fleury 1 gallon popcorn tins are going quick, so get yours. Enjoy your favorite popcorn products in these tins, only $26, and then refills on standard flavors for only $8 there. They are right there. They're great tins. You can also win Wild sweet tickets to the March 13th game against the Rangers. Come into the store in Minnetonka, scan the QR code, or if you're outside the metro, go to popcorn.com/pages/mn-wild. That's Popcorn. It's POPPED corn.com/pages/mn-wild. The Kaprizov and Fleury tins, again, only available while supplies last, and it sounds like they have sold a bunch because they're awesome. So check it out again. Go to popcorn.com, or if you want to, old-fashioned style, give them a call. The Minnetonka store, 952-452-8808, 952-452-8808. And age, it is cold outside. It is miserable, but you know what? Warm weather is on the way. So is springtime, and that means so is golf.
And there's no better time right now than to get the clubs in your bag so that as soon as that snow melts, the courses are open again, you can hit the links with you and your best friends. And if you're going to be like me, you're going to sail some balls into the woods, but that's all right. At least you're going to have the right clubs to do it. So stop by Swing Lab. They're going to get you fit with all new 2025 products from some of the biggest names in golf, whether it's Titleist, TaylorMade, Callaway, Mizuno, Cobra, Cleveland, Eriksson, or if you want to work on your game on the green, those Lab putters, they're brand new as well. Professional club fitters will use data-driven feedback to put any golfer with the right clubs. Swing Lab will also be doing 2 different giveaways for Wild tickets right now. You can still get on their first drawing for lower bowl tickets to the game against the Penguins here on March 9th. That runs through the 23rd of this month. After that, there will be a drawing going from the 23rd through the 31st of March for tickets to in the lower bowl against the Stars on April 6th. Club fitting and purchase is required to be entered into that raffle. And while you're there, you're already getting the right clubs. You probably want to improve your game with it. Get some lessons there at Swing Lab Performance Golf as well. They have premier indoor golf facilities at Swing Lab with PGA certified instructors to help any golfer's game. Maybe you slice it too much, you want to work on your draw, or vice versa. They're going to offer individual one-on-one lessons, but there's also group lessons. So maybe you want to get you and your buddy who are newer to golf. You want to work on that together. 2 to 4 people with multiple different programs to fine-tune your game. Check them out in Lakeville or go online to swinglabperformancegolf.com. Give them a call at 763-453-5892, Swing Lab Performance Golf.
All right, Team Sweden. Jules Eriksson Ek, a goal, an assist, 2 points, +2. He is playing 18-16 per game. Had actually a gorgeous play on Saturday to net front presence to get the puck in front, where his teammate then scored a goal. Brodin scored the goal in the first game. He's actually through 2 games, A-1. That goal is his only shot. He is playing 17-41 per game. And then, as you said, Philip Gustavsson gives up the 2 goals on the 4 shots. Turns out he's sick. Sounds like he didn't feel well when the game started. It's a weird one there. I was concerned about that he was hurt. But I'm guessing that Ullmark's going to get the start today when they play the Canadians. So long story short, I'm with you. I would hope that Sweden does not go hard. I would expect that they are going to. And the Gustavsson thing is interesting. Like, it's just weird because they were like, he's sick. He's sick. We didn't lift him for any other reason. It's like, okay, that's fine. But like, did he just not tell you he wasn't feeling well? Like, I want to see how this shakes out, because they did say early in that game on Saturday that he was slow to get up at one point in the first period. And look, he might be ill. I hope he's ill. But that being said, I definitely had some thoughts of, ooh, that's not good. He gave up 2 goals on 4 shots, but I still don't know in 2025 that that's enough to get you pulled when he actually had played very well, as we have discussed, in game 1.
Yeah, I'm hoping it's an illness too and not something else. And this is just, I want to preface, this is purely speculative. This is me just throwing out theories, but hypothetically, bad room service, blah blah blah, can't really hold anything down. You know what? If I'm lunging and I'm heaving, I'm going post to post. Yeah, if I do the splits, I'm probably gonna take a second to check myself, if that makes sense, before I maybe stand up. So if it's an illness, I understand. Hopefully that whatever it is in his system gets flushed out. But I hope it's that rather than some sort of injury, because if he's looking slower, no, that's not a question there. I'm sure Wild fans are hoping that it was something that is just, going through maybe the Four Nations locker rooms. Any injury, I think, would be, I'm not going to say catastrophic, but pretty darn harmful to the Minnesota Wild once they return here next week.
Yep.
Because without Philip Gustavsson, you're then relying on a 40-year-old Hall of Famer who's on his farewell tour, who has played very good hockey this year. Like, I want to preface that. But also that's a big workload. I don't know necessarily what Marc-Andre Fleury and his family are up to on this Four Nations break, but if they come back and maybe he is, it's time to kind of get you out of that competitive mindset. Maybe you lose it. And being a goalie is very highs and lows, kind of riding a wave and whatnot. He's a pro's pro, so I think I'm probably just saying words at this point, but he needs to be ready just in case there is some sort of a fib being told around Gustavsson. In terms of Brodin and Eriksson Ek, they both, I think, have had very good tournaments. I know Sweden is probably saying behind the scenes that they are thinking that this has not been the biggest success for them, especially losing in overtime to quote unquote little brother Finland. Right. But I think they've both been playing very good games. Ek has been playing his game, which is what we see with the Minnesota Wild. He gets to the front of the net. That one-handed assist on the Rasmus Dahlin goal. And how good is Rasmus Dahlin?
He's a hell of a player. Yeah.
It's crazy how good he elevates his game when he's playing with an actual team. No offense, Buffalo. And Jonas Brodin, he's been very good. I've seen, and I don't, maybe you share the same opinion on this, maybe you don't. I've seen some people arguing that he should be getting time in the overtime sessions for Team Sweden. I agree with the usage. Erik Karlsson is probably the guy to go to there, but also Rasmus Dahlin should be getting ice time. I'm fine with Brodin not getting in that 3-on-3 because frankly, he's more of a defensive guy. And when there's Dahlin and Karlsson on the roster, I understand a defensive guy probably not getting that time on ice.
All right, sir. Great stuff. We will be back tomorrow with Jesse Pierce as well. Plenty to talk about with the U.S. Having wrapped up all but its championship portion of the tournament. We will get her thoughts on the marvelous game on Saturday against Canada, and also talk about other topics that have to do with what has been absolutely fantastic hockey. We will talk to you soon.